all of these athletes who are collapsing, they are not collapsing because they are unfit. They are collapsing because they don't know of a pre-existing condition. The biggest myth, Vipin, is कल तक वो बंदा 100% ठीक था, अचानक ये हो गया. यार, our body is too beautifully designed कि अचानक कुछ हो गया. अचानक आपके लंग्स नहीं रुक सकते हैं, अचानक आपको अंधकार नहीं आ सकता है, आप अंधे नहीं हो सकते हो. There will be signs. COVID taught us this word, comorbidities. People have to understand cardiovascular disease के comorbidities होते हैं. Diabetes, high BP, high stress, obesity, more visceral fat, all this is there. South Asians, Indians, we are more predisposed to this. So I know it all sounds very dark and negative, but it's not. The positive thing is, in 5 minutes you can know if someone has eyes but they want to live in darkness, then God help them.
Hello and welcome to the Find Your Doctor podcast, the show that received immense love from all of you last year. This year, the podcast is going to be video. I can now make videos because I am blessed with an amazing team led by my friend Keshav. So all the videos can now be viewed on YouTube, and the audio podcast, as usual, remains available on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts and wherever you get your audio podcasts. Today's guest is somebody who is going to be the first guest on the Find Your Doctor podcast, but when we started recording last year, he was already away on his annual Vipassana retreat. So if you haven't already guessed, I'm talking about Madhur Daga. Madhur is the managing director of Orient Belt Tiles, which is, if I'm not wrong, 700 crore turnover company. It's a listed company, and the numbers that I'm throwing at you are actually quite old, so it could be even more. Madhur is also an amateur endurance athlete. He's run multiple marathons, half marathons, and he's also done a half Ironman and Ironman 70.3. He's also done the world's highest ultramarathon, the Khardungla Challenge. So Madhur is a super inspiring individual who's actually out there training every day. He's up in the early hours of the day, and he can be seen pounding the pavement in the roads of central Delhi. And that's what's most inspiring about him. And also his discipline to eat clean. He shares all of that and more on his Instagram handle, the Daga Saga. If you don't already follow him, you're missing out. So please give it a follow right away. It's a great account to follow. It has everything. It has fun, humor, inspiration. It's a riot. You'll love it. There are so many aspects to Madhur's personality which we could have done entire episodes about. So for example, like Vipassana meditation, I believe is something that can be absolutely life-changing for people, for me. That's something that I really want to get back to, and I want to deep dive into meditation and various other things with him at a later stage, though we've discussed some of that in this episode. But something happened recently. Madhur was diagnosed with a heart condition. Now, despite living most aspects of his life by the book, he came down with this condition. So instead of sitting and complaining and wondering why me, Madhur has actually taken this head on. He's worked with the best of doctors, and he's turned this life event into one of the most growth oriented and learning oriented phases of his life. He educated himself about heart health, heart condition, heart diseases, and he believes that if he shares this with people, a lot of lives can be saved. At least a few can definitely be saved. So here's what we've done. We've divided this interview into two sections. The first section is actually about heart health, because we both believe that that's something that the world needs to know about. So if you are pressed for time and you can't listen to the entire interview, please, I urge you to sit through at least the first half of this interview, because that's where Madhur shares all his learnings about heart health. And I believe it was enlightening for me. I got certain tests done, and I'm at much more peace now. I really want you to be that person as well. So please sit through the first half of the interview, and if you have the time, I promise you would love the second half as well, because in the second half, Madhur shares about his life, all the interesting aspects of his life, which he shares on his Instagram handle, and a lot of people are curious about his style of doing things, his style of working. How does he look so natural in front of the camera? Has he always been doing this? There are just so many questions that people have, and it's just like you're going to love that. There's just so much fun and so much learning and so much depth that we've tried to go into. So I really hope you'll enjoy this, and if you do, please let us know in the comments, and I really look forward to your feedback, your love, your comments, everything. Before we dive into the show, I have one quick request to make. We are very new on this video platform, and as you know, we probably don't have anybody who follows us here. And there's a huge audience that has given immense love on audio platforms to us. I request you, I urge you to please give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. It'll mean the world to us. It'll help the show grow immensely. If the show gets bigger, the guests get bigger, and you have even better content. Please do that. Please do me that favor. Hit the subscribe button and the like button and share it with whoever you can share it with. Thank you so much. And so without further ado, here's Madhur Daga and me in the Find Your Ultra podcast, episode 40. Indulge away. The Daga Saga in the house. What a pleasure, sir. I've been scouting you for such a long time. You were going to be the first guest on the Find Your Ultra podcast, but you were away on a Vipassana retreat. But it's fine. I mean, our first guest was also amazing, Kanan Jain, and a national athlete. But finally, I have you here. And the Daga Saga account that I've been following on Instagram since the very beginning, I think you were just starting out your Instagram journey, and I've been following you since then. That account is a ride. There's so much humor, there's so much education, there's so much inspiration there with your training. So just when somebody begins to think that this guy is somebody starts to sort of put you in a box that this guy is all about seriousness, all about knowledge, and is no nonsense person. Just then you throw in a funny reel that'll make you chuckle, make you laugh. It's hilarious. And so, I mean, apart from that, there is, because you do these Vipassana retreats, I mean, that I find so intriguing. I've done Vipassana just once. So I know what that is about, but you've been doing that for years and what that does to your mind and your body and your life. So there is so much to mine there, so much to learn from, and your endurance training and so many things. But recently something has happened, and that you believe, and I also believe, that is so important that we should really focus this episode on that. So we've decided to divide this into two parts. One part is going to be about heart health because of something that's just happened, and some new discoveries and some new learnings. I will leave that entirely up to you to share with us what has happened. And the second part is going to be about getting to know the man, the Daga Saga. It's usually the other way around, but I want the focus to be this. Those who are pressed for time can just listen to the first part, because it's important that everybody hears out what we've just learned about the heart. And if they have time, the second part is going to make their life richer, because I believe listening to it is going to make my life richer. So let's begin. First of all, welcome to the Find Your Ultra podcast.
Thank you, Vipin. Thank you for the great introduction. I want to also thank you for inviting me to be your first guest. Like you said, I was over at Vipassana. I couldn't make it, and I sent a DM to you a few weeks ago requesting you to have me here, because I was very keen on sharing everything that you want me to share about me, about the Daga Saga, but with specific focus on heart health. Also, thank you for something that I'm very, very grateful for, which is that you are one of my very early followers. I started a little over 3 years ago. Everything on the gram for me has been organic. And it's not always that I meet someone who has been following me from way back in the day. That time it was only very close friends and family and people I had on WhatsApp. So I don't even know who has been with me on the gram journey since the very beginning. So really, thank you. I am very grateful. My bio says this on Instagram. It's mind, body, and fuel. That's my tripartite. That's my triangle. The body is easy. It's all my training. Fuel is all my nutrition. The mind is where can get, that's the ride, because the mind is also all of the serious stuff. But I think if you take yourself a little too seriously, mind it actually regresses, I feel. So for the mind to really blossom, you have to be serious, but you also can't take life too seriously. Which is why when I find myself posting a lot of serious stuff, I have to go back to some of the stupidity, some of the humor, the stuff that I'm known for as well. So just to be authentic on the gram has been my mantra, mind, body, and fuel. Just be you. and just very lucky to have all of the love that I receive.
It's been a ride, and so I'm glad you do that, and that also keeps things real and everything.
Yes.
And in fact, we'll talk about your Instagram journey in the second part of it, because you look so natural on the camera. In fact, मैं तो सोच रहा हूँ इसका introduction भी आप ही से record करवा लूँ, वो ज़्यादा बढ़िया रहेगा, because I'm still shit scared of camera, and you're so amazing on the camera. And a lot of people have asked you about this. Have you always been so natural? But let's get to that later.
Sure.
Let us talk about when you came back from Ladakh marathon, Ladakh Khardungla challenge, 72 kilometers. After you came back, you were diagnosed with something. What happened?
Yes.
So why this is important, just setting the context. You're an endurance athlete. Anybody who follows you on Instagram, like for me also, it came as a shock when we got to know that there's something wrong with your heart that's been diagnosed, because you have been somebody who's been working out, who's been looking after his health, eating clean, because you talk about nutrition as well. So you're not somebody who indulges in a lot of things, because you post about that. You post a lot of your life on Instagram, and from what we see there, you seem to have sorted it out. और इनके साथ अगर ऐसा हो सकता है, तो फिर किसी के भी साथ हो सकता है.
बिल्कुल.
तो जानना बहुत जरूरी है कि क्या हुआ.
Yes. So just to set the context a little more, I was in Ladakh. Everyone knows that I ran the Khardungla challenge, which is 72K. What a lot of people don't know is 2 days later, I ran the Ladakh half. That's, another 21K. And what almost nobody knows is beyond that, I also ran another 2 5-kilometer runs as active recovery runs. My coach believes that there is no sedentary recovery. Recovery should be active, whether swim, bike, run, whatever. So I ran almost 100 kilometers at between 14 and 17,500 feet altitude. That is what I did in Ladakh. And when I came back, I was, as usual, doing my daily meditation. And we will get into meditation more, but one of the tenets of meditation is it creates this insatiable drive, this relentless drive for self-awareness. How much more can I know about me rather than just what I believe about me? This is very important, Vipin. Because it's very easy for someone like me to believe that I've run 100 kilometers at high altitude, nothing has happened, I'm asymptomatic, I am in perfect health, I have a six-pack. Meditation teaches you otherwise. It says, don't look at things just the way they are. Go deeper. Know more about yourself. And the truth is, the only way you can know about your cardiac health is by looking at your heart, not by looking at your six-pack or by looking at how much you can run. Those are all derived. So I'm meditating and suddenly I get this awareness, wow, so many people are tragically losing their lives in their 40s and 50s, endurance athletes like me. They're as fit as me, if not fitter. क्या हो रहा है ये? That hunger to know more. It wasn't rooted in fear, Vipin. डर नहीं था, एक इच्छा थी कि मुझे जानना है अपने बारे में और. हो गया लद्दाख, हो गया खरदुंगला, और भी गोल्स हैं, और इंटेंसिटी के गोल्स हैं. Let's find out. There is a saying that, if your intentions are pure, the universe conspires in mysterious ways to help you. It's just mysterious how the universe conspires. That happened with me. मैं meditate कर रहा हूँ, मेरी ये इच्छा है कि मुझे जानना है और, and out of nowhere, I get this post in my feed, a suggested post. It's not someone I follow. His name is Dr. Khan, K-A-H-N, a senior cardiologist in the US. I don't follow him. And all it said in a text post was, if you are an endurance athlete and you haven't done one of these two tests, you are risking silent cardiac disease. Bas itna hi tha. Maybe if I had received that 2 years ago, I would have shat on it. I would have ignored it. But ye sab nahi chahiye. But I didn't. It was that time. Timing has to be right. So I looked at that. I continued my meditation for another couple of days. And then I decided, let me see what this test is. And one of those tests, which we'll talk about later, showed a diagnosis which was positive for cardiovascular disease. So the big thing in this segment that I want to emphasize is that this happened because of my need for self-awareness rather than the comfort of my ego living in an assumption. मुझे क्या हो सकता है, मैं तो डागा सागा हूं, 6 पैक है, सारे कार्डियोवैस्कुलर रिस्क फैक्टर्स अपेरेंटली मेरे लिए नेगेटिव हैं, 100 किलोमीटर लद्दाख में भाग के आया हूं, मुझे तो कोई नहीं छू सकता है. दिस इज द ऑपोजिट स्पेक्ट्रम. नहीं, आई डोंट नो अबाउट माई हार्ट, लेट्स फाइंड आउट.
That is nothing short of a miracle.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because it's very easy to believe that you're invincible because you're being able to run so much and all. But yeah, and then so you went for what was the test? And
yes. So the test, one of the 2 tests that he mentioned is called a calcium CT scan. The calcium CT scan gives a report which is a number. That is called the CAC number, CAC, coronary artery calcification. It's a number between 0 and 1000. The lower the number, the cleaner your heart in terms of calcification. So if your result is 0, your heart has no calcification. Your risk of cardiovascular disease is minimal. They have grades. 100 to 300, moderate risk. कुछ है. पता नहीं क्या है, कुछ है. This I've talked about. The coronary artery calcification score is indicative. It's not conclusive. It's an indication, या तो कुछ नहीं है या कुछ है. अगर कुछ है तो आपको और टेस्ट कराने पड़ेंगे. Which is why it's non-invasive. कोई नीडल नहीं है, MRI मशीन नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है. 5 मिनट का टेस्ट है विपिन. 5 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. There is no 6th minute here. So the CAC test was the one that I went for, and that gave me a score of 253. 253 for a 51-year-old male is not normal. Is it extremely critical? No, but it's not normal. It warrants more investigation. So with that score and my blood markers, my lipid blood markers specifically, which I've kept a track of for the last 7 years, I went with that to a cardiologist, and then we took further steps. So that was my first test, the calcium CT scan.
Okay, and that's the starting point. That's what everybody should get done.
So that's a little tricky to answer, Vipin. I don't know if everyone should get that done, and I'll tell you why. The other thing that people can do, which is as non-invasive, is some sort of a treadmill test, either an electrocardiogram or an echocardiogram. You could do that. Now, there's a fundamental problem when endurance athletes do that. I've run 11 and a half hours in altitude to complete 72 kilometers. 11 and a half hours. An 11 and a half minute treadmill test at sea level is unlikely to cause some problem to me. A. B. It's unlikely to catch a defect in the heart. Because even if my heart has a defect, the fact that I've run so much all my life, the last few years, my heart has adapted. So treadmill test for endurance athletes, I'm not sure if it's the correct marker to catch something early. That's why I went for a CT scan. Should everyone go for a calcium CT versus a treadmill test? That's honestly not something I'm qualified to answer. But मैंने अपने लिए a calcium CT choose किया इसलिए. Because I knew 2 years ago I did a treadmill test for an insurance policy. 10 मिनट बाद ऑपरेटर बोलता है, बॉस हो गया, अब आपका हार्ट रेट बढ़ ही नहीं रहा है, आप नॉर्मल हो. And I had the blockage then also. 2 years ago, it wasn't caught. So yeah, to answer your question, I don't know if the CAC test is for everyone, but definitely for an endurance athlete, it's a great indicative test.
Right. So we'll come to the specific recommendations for people a little later in the section. Please tell us, so once this was detected, 253 was the score.
Yes.
Once that came, because if you're telling me the range is from 1 to 1000.
Yes.
I would say, one would tend to think 250 तो ठीक ही होगा, इतना extreme के तो आसपास भी नहीं है, कुछ हो सकता है.
Yes.
So then you went ahead and you got further examinations done. What were those?
So first, let me put it in context. The normal value for calcification should be 0. It's like if I check your fever, there's no reason your fever should be more than 98.4. So 100 isn't life-threatening, but why should you have 100 fever? तो जब मेरा 250 आया, 253, it wasn't okay. It was not worth ignoring. So then I went to a cardiologist with my lipid markers. Lipid markers specifically are total cholesterol, which is divided into HDL, the good cholesterol, LDL, the bad cholesterol, VLDL, another sort of bad cholesterol, triglycerides, etc. 7 साल के records थे, 253 का calcium score था. I went to the cardiologist. Within 5 minutes, the cardiologist said, I don't know what the problem is, but there is a problem. You eat clean, you have no CVD factors. CVD matlab cardiovascular disease. You have no controllable CVD factors, which are BP, nahi hai. Diabetes, nahi hai. Smoking 20 साल हो गए, नहीं कर रहे हो. Sedentary, नहीं हो. Clean eat करते हो. Sleep करते हो. All my factors are okay, yet you're 253 and your lipids, your LDL is on the higher end. Kuch hai. Go get a CT angiogram done. That's test number 2. The difference between a CT calcium and a CT angio is it's still a CT, but in an angio, they inject a dye. They inject a dye to get a view of the arteries in your heart. अभी आपको calcification मालूम पड़ गया है, but ये नहीं मालूम पड़ा है कि blockage है या नहीं, क्योंकि आप arteries के अंदर नहीं गए हो. So he recommended that test. Next day, I did the CT angio, and on 16th of September, I'm not going to forget this date, 16 तारीख सितंबर को मेरा CT angio का report मिला मुझे. And that report, without a doubt, said that my left anterior descending artery, LAD, to put that in context, it's the most major artery which carries 50% of the blood to your heart. The entire cardiology world knows this artery as a nickname. It's called the widowmaker artery. This is not something I've made up. Everyone knows. The reason it's called a widowmaker, it's kind of obvious, is when males get a heart attack due to blockage in the artery, they typically die, leaving behind a widow, which is why it's called a widowmaker artery. My widowmaker artery had between 70 to 80% severe blockage. It was clear. The CT angio cleared that. On the right side, my arteries were between 20 and 40% blocked, which isn't terrible for a 51-year-old. 20 to 40 is okay. 70 to 80 is not okay. It's a diseased heart. So this was the diagnosis on 16th of September post the CT angio. The only reason I went for a CT angio is because the calcium score was higher than normal. So one thing led to another.
That is just crazy. And so it was 70 to 80% blockage. Wow. So what did you feel when you came back with that?
No, I still remember, Vipin, I'm not going to forget this conversation. I was on my dining table, sitting down, nervous, obviously, to make the call. I made the call to the Mahajan imaging radiologist. And when he told me on the phone, jhatka to lagta hi hai. You know, you feel a little upset. चाहे जितनी meditation कर रहे हो आप, you're a human being, आप बुद्धा तो हो नहीं, you are not 100% detached from outcomes in life. तो दुख होता है, झटका लगता है. But then I went back to something which we'll get into more when we talk about meditation. Meditation, one of the most powerful lessons of meditation, especially Vipassana, is the concept of karma. There are many definitions of karma, but the deepest definition of karma, which is the toughest to believe, but this is true karma. That is, you deserve everything that happens to you.
Wow.
Not the good, not the bad, everything. Now, the reason that's difficult is because as human beings, when good happens, we fold our hands and we say, thank you. When bad happens, we say, why me? Mere saath kyun hua? That's not karma. Karma is, you may not understand it, but you have to accept it that whatever is happening had to happen that way. And I'm very lucky also, and it's also the work I've put in. I'll pat myself on the back for that. The work that I've put in since I started Vipassana is it's become second nature to me to believe whatever is happening is meant to happen. So few minutes into the disappointment, I said, okay, this is my heart. This is meant to be. Let's move forward. That's how I think, Vipin. I don't grieve for too long. I don't whine, moan, bitch or complain for too long. I take it in and then I see, okay, what do I do with it? I often tell people, It's not that I've ordered a cold coffee and they've got me a hot Americano and I say, change kar do. Ye heart hai mera. Ye heart hai mera. So my heart and I have got to be on the same team, man. So acceptance is important. It's not a player I can substitute. I can't bench my heart. This is my heart. So very quickly, during the call itself, I started feeling this, okay. So that was step one. Jhatka laga, dukh hua, but then that training, that meditation training took over. I deserve this. I deserve this. Why, kyun? That's another question, but acceptance.
But didn't you like वो तो जरूर हुआ होगा कि I've been doing everything right. Weren't you like puzzled and bewildered by this कि ये कैसे हो सकता है?
No, Vipin, I have to tell you, I wasn't puzzled or bewildered. I was disappointed. For a moment, for several moments, I wished it wasn't the case. But meditation doesn't like you to live in a wishful state. It likes you to live in the moment. So I wished that it hadn't happened. But no, I wasn't bewildered because I know, and I'm sure you will know through the podcast, that the life that I've been leading for the last 6 years is not the life I've been leading for the last 51 years. I'm not 6, I'm 51. So the last 6-7 years have been incredible for me with discipline, consistency, everything the gram sees, all real, all authentic. But I've only been on the gram for 3 years. The gram doesn't know what I was 20 years ago. The gram doesn't know how I was in college. The gram doesn't know when I started smoking. So that's why I said, we always deserve what happens to us. हम भूल जाते हैं कि हमने क्या किया था. We have very selective memory, right? So it's very easy for me to say, यार मैं तो सब करता हूँ. I am the model of consistency. I am the model of discipline. I am the model of delayed gratification. ये क्या हो गया? नहीं, boss, I wasn't always the model of this. I've lived life on the other side for many, many years. So that's why I wasn't puzzled. I wasn't bewildered. That also had to catch up with me. And another thing that I want to talk to you about, and we will do it in maybe a separate section, is I've talked about all the CVD risks that I can control. I'm in full control, and I have none of them. But there are 2 things which I'm not in control of at all. Number 1 are my genes. I'm in no control of my genes. This has come to me through the science, through my parents, through the cards I've been dealt with, exactly. That's number 1, no control. And 2, I have no control on my past life. जो मैंने अपने बचपन में किया है, I can never go back and erase. अगर मैंने 25 साल सुट्टे पिए हैं, तो पिए हैं ना. I can't erase that. I can believe that, oh, because I quit 20 years ago, मेरे lungs clean हो गए. These are all beliefs and assumptions. But पता नहीं ना. I don't know how much of that nicotine and tar and chemicals are still there. I don't know. All the alcohol I've drunk mindlessly in college, I don't know what it has done to my liver. So those are 2 things I can't control. Have they had an impact on my blocked artery? Possibly. All of this helped me accept the fact, ye hai. You can't detach from all of that. But at the same time, karma is super fair. The last 6-7 years have helped me tremendously because, as you know, I'm still training, I'm still running, I'm still biking, I'm still lifting, I'm doing all of that with the 80% blocked artery. That's another whole thing which we'll talk about. That's because of my last few years of training.
Amazing, sir. So then the test happened.
Yes.
And we got to know of the blockage.
Yes.
What was the protocol? What were the medicines you were put on? And how were you able to run half marathons after that?
Right. So that's a great question. So I'm, first of all, very blessed that I had incredible cardiologists, 2 or 3 of them around me.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, you've got a heart blockage. Yeah. You're a lay person compared to a cardiologist. उस समय तो डॉक्टर भगवान होता है ना. If you have someone giving you advice A versus B, you will go with A versus B. So I'm very lucky that I had the type of cardiologist who, after looking at 70 to 80% blockage, none of them said, let's get you a catheter in the heart, let's get an angioplasty, let's get a stent. No. They said, maybe. Now you have to do another test. I said, another test? 80% blockage, ab aur kya dekhna hai? They said, okay, we'll explain it to you. They explained to me that just because you have an 80% blockage, the fact still remains that you've run 100K in Ladakh. The fact remains you've trained very intensely. You've done a half iron as well. So for some reason, it's possible that your heart is not getting starved of blood. What happens when you have a blocked artery? There is not enough blood being fed to the heart. If there's not enough blood being fed to the heart, why are you asymptomatic? Why are you being able to run 100K in Ladakh without pain in your chest? The answer could be derived from another test. This test, which is a very important test, especially for people like me who are asymptomatic, who've not had a heart attack yet.
Yeah.
It's called a stress thallium test. Thallium is a radioactive marker, a radioactive isotope that is injected in you intravenously while you do a treadmill test, and then you do resting. So you alternate between activity and rest with this radioactive marker in your heart under a camera, a very specialized gamma camera. That camera is now measuring blood flow in your heart. So let's break that down. Calcium CT scan measured calcification.
Right.
CT angio measured blockage. The stress thallium test is measuring impact of the blockage. How has the blockage impacted blood flow? A lay person should say, right में blockage 30% है, left में 80% है, left में heart में blood कम आना चाहिए. The stress thallium proves that. My stress thallium test, thank God, was completely negative. Matlab, my left side of the heart was getting as much blood as the right side. So while there is a severe blockage, blood is not being blocked. Now the next question is, how is that possible? Karma. Karma.
Really?
Yes.
Or is it the work you put in?
Karma.
Okay. Yeah.
Karma is exactly
karma.
that.
Yeah.
Karma is the fruit of your action.
Right.
What was my action? Training well, not being sedentary. So what my heart decided to do is it decided to do something called collateral circulation. Collateral circulation means the body understands मेरे heart में blockage है, primary artery में blockage है, widowmaker artery में, can other arteries open up to supply blood that the blockage is not being able to supply? That's what happened. Other arteries opened up, छोटे arteries, which then started supplying blood to the left side of my heart. So the stress thallium report came out saying the left side of the heart is getting pretty much the same blood as the right side of the heart. Does that mean I don't have blockage? No. I have blockage, but it's not impacting blood flow. And that is the answer, Vipin, why I'm still able to run, I'm still able to bike, I'm still able to do all activities like lift, because my heart is not getting starved of blood. Are there precautions I have to take? Yes. I have cardiovascular disease. I have an 80% blocked artery. I need to take precautions, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, the reason I can still live close to my normal life is because there is no starvation of blood in the side where I have blockage. That was test number 3, the stress thallium test.
Okay. But just because the blood flow hasn't been affected yet, does it mean it will not be affected? Or do we not know anything about that?
So, every cardiologist should be able to tell you what all the cardiologists told me. It's not a fun thing to hear, but this is true not only for me, but for you as well. Before I leave the room, they always say, Mr. Daga, there are no guarantees. Paramatma nahi hai yaar, Bhagwan nahi. They cannot write कि आपको कुछ नहीं हो सकता है. Can blood flow be affected later? Maybe. But for that, I've got a couple of precautions through medication and something else that I'll share with you when you ask. I have to take those precautions. But I cannot tell you, कुछ नहीं हो सकता है. अब मैं अमर हूं. नहीं. The best we can do is treat it, take precautions, let karma handle the rest.
Yeah.
I'm doing that.
Wonderful. So, medication, is it important to talk about that? Because if, let's say, I go for these tests, let's say I would begin by getting my CT done or an echocardiogram or something. And then depending on that, because I'll get an expert to consult that, and whatever the condition is, I'll be prescribed certain medication. So maybe medication is very individual, right?
Yes, it is. I do want to talk about it from my treatment point of view, as long as there is a very clear disclaimer to the viewers.
Sure.
This is not over-the-counter medication. This is RX. It's prescribed.
Yeah.
Just because I'm taking it cannot mean you will take it.
Yeah.
So as long as that is clear, there are just 2 medications I'm on for this specific purpose. Number 1 is a statin. A statin lowers your cholesterol. Cholesterol is very important for the body. A lot of people know, everyone knows we can eat cholesterol.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't know is we make cholesterol as well. The organ that makes your cholesterol is called the liver. I have a genetic disorder, which I didn't know about, unfortunately, until all this happened.
Okay.
My genetic disorder from my dad's side is my liver cannot metabolize, cannot regulate cholesterol the way it should, which is why no matter how clean I eat, Vipin, my bad cholesterol will always be at the higher end. My LDL will always be in the 120s, 130s. I mean, unless I drink water and eat boiled potatoes all day, which I can't. I'm an athlete. I need to have my animal protein, which has cholesterol. So I can't be on that kind of a diet where I don't have animal protein. Yeah. I eat as clean as I can. My LDL is as high as maybe someone who eats dirty. Not because of my diet, because of my genes. So because my diet has not contributed to elevated LDL, my diet cannot contribute to reducing it. Just, this is something I want to share with you. The one part of treatment that I fought, मैंने बहुत जिद करी cardiologist से, मैं statin नहीं लूँगा. That's who I am. I don't like to take medication. मैं nutrition से ठीक करूँगा. तो they said, क्या खाओगे तुम? कुछ भी यदि तुम कम कर दो, साल भर में तुम्हारा LDL 100 तक भी नहीं पहुंचेगा. तुम्हारी हिस्ट्री है 80% ब्लॉकेज की, 100 LDL में 10 साल में 90-100 हो जाएगा. You can't do it. So finally I surrendered and I'm on a statin. A statin has already lowered my LDL from 130 to 57. I could never do this with nutrition because bad nutrition hasn't contributed to it. It's not that I'm eating refined oil and fried and refined carbohydrates all day. दिन भर छोले भटूरे जलेबी तो खाता नहीं हूं ना मैं. तो क्या करूं? So that's medication number one. So statin ka role hai to lower the cholesterol. Statin has another very important role which we can get into later. It's a little specific, but big thing is LDL. Come. Second big medication that I'm on, which kind of answers that blockage question, is now I'm on 75 mg of baby aspirin. Commonly this is called a blood thinner, but it doesn't actually thin your blood. What it does it is chemically, it is an antiplatelet medication. It changes your blood in a way that it doesn't clot very quickly. Heart attack में ना clotting हो जाती है. I'm on the weakest form of aspirin, 75 mg Ecosprin. These are the two medications I'm on, probably for the rest of my life. Meditation has helped me accept it, that it's okay. I have to be grateful that I can still go out there and run and train. The third thing that I have to do is anytime I do physical activity, I have to carry 2 disprins with me. I'm sure you've taken a disprin in your life. We take it for a headache, we take it for a fever. But another characteristic of a disprin salt is it's a blood thinner also. So if I'm jogging or cycling or running or lifting and I suddenly start feeling tightness in my chest, I just chew on 2 disprins. It buys me time before I get to a hospital. Simple. Right. So you asked a question, could blood flow get stopped? Yes. If it does, I chew my disprins and then the doctors take care of the rest. But awareness hai mujhe. The one big thing I want to talk to you about is what are the big advantages of this awareness and what would have happened if I was not aware? Today I'm aware.
Yeah.
Let's take a scenario where I wasn't aware. If I'm not aware, I continue exactly with my clean lifestyle. Do I still have 70 to 80 blockage? Yes, but I don't know it.
Yeah.
Do I still have 20 to 40 blockage here? Yes, but I don't know it. Clear? My LDL remains 125. Why would I lower it to 57? I don't need to. I'm not on a statin. Why would I need to be a statin? मुझे तो मालूम ही नहीं. Would I be on an aspirin? No. Fast forward 3 years from now. I'm training for my first full Ironman. 3 years from now, it's likely this 80% blockage has gone to 90. Why? Because my LDL is high. This 20 to 40 has now come up to 60 maybe. Now 3 years from now, my heart is way more blocked than it is today. Clear? Now I'm running, I'm biking. God forbid I collapse. Let's not end this in tragedy. I collapse and I'm taken to a hospital. What will every person say? यार डागा सागा तो इतना फिट है, वो तो इतना, उसका तो 6 पैक है, क्या खाता है यार, क्लीन है, कल तक तो बिल्कुल ठीक था, आज देखो गिर गया. ये ना रनिंग वनिंग नहीं करनी चाहिए. ही इज डूइंग टू मच यार. उसके कोच ने उसको ज्यादा पुश कर दिया. Nobody knows, including me, कि 15 साल से मेरा ब्लॉकेज है जो मैंने डिटेक्ट ही नहीं किया है. Bro, don't blame the sport. for your own mistake of lack of awareness. This is solely my responsibility. I screwed up by not getting screened. So, which is why, Vipin, instead of being angry or bitter or disappointed, I am only filled with gratitude. This is a blocked heart, but it's a very grateful heart that I wasn't 5 years from now. This happened now. Asymptomatic, no risk factors, yet I found out in the most beautiful way possible that I have a blockage and I'm treating it. And the biggest gift for me is that I'm here, positive, trying to serve the endurance, community by telling them awareness is key. Be an example like me who've got screened. If you're good, it's not a viral infection that today you're good and tomorrow your heart is bad. 5-10 saal you're okay. But screen karao. So it's a blocked heart, but it's a very grateful heart that I'm here in front of you without having gone to hospital because of a tragic cardiac event, only for regular tests. So this is a very important part of the discussion, Vipin, that please be aware. Andhkar mein mat jiyo. Sajakta mein jiyo. Sajakta matlab awareness.
That's amazing. I am so grateful that we are learning about this, and also grateful for this attitude that you're sharing, which is of gratefulness despite finding out this. It's something I am personally working very hard on building as I'm learning more about this. But this point is so important because in the endurance community, we hear this all the time. We at a lot of running events, at a lot of Ironman events, there's somebody or the other collapsing, and it's so tragic because these are all young folks. Their feeds are full of inspiration for people,
Yes.
and when they see them collapsing, they're immediately like they were overdoing it,
Yes.
just like you said.
Yes.
And that is one. It's a bad rep for the sport.
Yes.
And it also encourages those people who don't move at all and live sedentary lives. They're saying सब कुछ करने के बाद भी ये हो जाता तो कुछ करने का कुछ फायदा है ही नहीं.
ये बहुत जरूरी है यार कि it's in humor, but a lot of people have said to me, यार अगर डागा सागा को हो सकता है तो हमें भी हो सकता है. हाँ, ये correct है. But the difference is you can find out. Now let's say I needed surgery to find out. Now that's a problem. 5 मिनट का तो टेस्ट है यार. कोई सुई भी नहीं है. Lot of people have a problem with MRI machine. Oh, we get very claustrophobic. वो भी नहीं है. It's a donut machine. It's a CT machine. So there is no barrier to entry to get tested.
Right.
तो हो सकता है ना. So yes, the sport gets a bad rep and it creates fear. And you cannot live in fear, Vipin. What is the antidote to fear? Knowledge. The only antidote to fear is knowledge. Why am I able to go out and do intervals today? It is true I get fearful sometimes. I'm a human being.
Yeah.
But if I was fearful all the time, मैं तो कोच को बोलता था, बॉस हो गया. मैं अब ये सब नहीं कर सकता हूँ. The reason is because I have knowledge. I know what statin is doing. I know what blood thinner is doing. I know I have my aspirin. I have everything. उसके बाद भी यदि कुछ होना है, karma. So I'm taking my precautions. But it's very important. All of these athletes who are collapsing, they are not collapsing because they are unfit. They are collapsing because they don't know of a pre-existing condition. The biggest myth, Vipin, is कल तक वो बंदा 100% ठीक था, अचानक ये हो गया. यार, our body is too beautifully designed कि अचानक कुछ हो गया. अचानक आपके लंग्स नहीं रुक सकते हैं. अचानक आपको अंधकार नहीं आ सकता है. आप अंधे नहीं हो सकते हो. There will be signs. Asymptomatic का मतलब क्या होता है? Signs नहीं आए. There's a word for it. It's called being asymptomatic. A lot of people didn't know the word until COVID.
Yeah.
COVID taught us this word, asymptomatic. COVID also taught us another word, comorbidities. People have to understand cardiovascular disease के comorbidities होते हैं. Diabetes, high BP, high stress, obesity, more visceral fat. All this is there. अब मैंने बहुत research कर ली है. South Asians, Indians, we are more predisposed to this. So I know it all sounds very dark and negative, but it's not. The positive thing is, in 5 minutes you can know. If you can know, please know. The people who I feel very sad about are people who say, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
मेरे पिताजी मुझे हमेशा सिखाते हैं कि अंधा बेचारा क्या कर सकता है, उसकी तो आंखें नहीं है. पर आंखें होते हुए भी अगर तुम नहीं देखना चाहते हो, तो तुम तो अंधे से भी गए गुजरे हो. If someone has eyes but they want to live in darkness, then God help them.
Yeah. And that's unfortunately a lot of people. And screening, like when we were talking about breast cancer, we've done an episode on that.
Yes.
And the numbers are staggering. Like breast cancer, it is treatable if it's detected early.
Yes.
Like 9 out of 10 women will get treated. But the treatment rate, the survival rate in India is 5 to 6 women out of 10. So it's 90% in the US, the survival rate. It's 50 to 60 in India. Just because nobody talks about breast cancer. Breast के बारे में तो आप बातें नहीं कर सकते, शर्म आएगी, झिझक होगी, and nobody gets screened. और फिर screening नहीं होगी, तो by the time you get there, you're already at stage 4 and the survival rates are much lower.
That's very sad. Yeah. I think you've also brought up this important point of taboo. I recently posted 2 reels on this. I call these my whiteboard reels because I'm in front of a whiteboard explaining. One of the reels which I posted a few days ago was about the relationship between exercise and cardiac health. I won't repeat stuff here, but it's there on my gram. And the reel that I posted yesterday was on SCD, sudden cardiac death. And in the caption, one of the things I wrote is, we need to talk about this. I know people, I'm not going to take names, but I know people, और इससे दुख होता है मुझे, who've had the same condition as me. बातें नहीं करेंगे इसके बारे में. I feel ashamed that, I'm an athlete, yet I have this. I know this is difficult for some people, but I want to encourage conversation. No matter who you are, Vipin, there will be a bunch of the population who are going to laugh at you, who are going to judge you. It's okay. That's their prerogative. But there are going to be a bunch of people who may feel helped. There could be, I don't know this, but there could be a bunch of people looking at me on the gram saying, "ये बंदे को काम वाम नहीं है, अब ये दिन भर हार्ट के बारे में बात कर रहा है." बोले यार, मैं क्यों उनके घर में जाके उनका मुंह थोड़ी बंद कर सकता हूँ? As long as there are some people, forget some, as long as there is even one person who says, Daga Saga, because of what you shared, it helped me, or my mom, or my dad, or my brother, or my sister, or my friend. That's great karma for me. People get obsessed with those people who want to judge them negatively. यार, you cannot control the world. ये meditation सिखाता है ना कि आप अपने परिस्थितियों का नियंत्रण नहीं कर सकते हो, मनोस्थिति का कर सकते हो. वहीं रहो.
No. So many people have been helped by this. Like after you've shared this has been a part of my discussions with my friends. People, we've been discussing. Did you get to know that? So and one of my friends, Biplab Mukherjee, who's also a nutrition coach,
right?
He wisely pointed out this, and him and I'm also reading Outlive by Dr. Peter.
Yes.
I think you're also reading that these days, right?
Yes.
And we are getting to a level of technology where we'll be able to diagnose diseases that are going to happen 10 years down the line.
That's right.
So I mean, ठीक है, हमारे पास अभी टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है, लेकिन like you said, body is such a beautiful machine. Like your heart, एक में blockage है बड़ी, उसने दूसरी जगह से रास्ता बना लिया, उनको बड़ा कर दिया.
बिल्कुल. It's called adaptation.
Yeah.
The body is so beautiful, so powerful, and we have the audacity to say, कल तक वो बिल्कुल ठीक था और आज उसका हार्ट रुक गया. नहीं, कितना स्ट्रेस में आया होगा उसका हार्ट. How much would have the person कि ले ही नहीं पाया. And you know something you said, I'll give you a different perspective. You said we don't have the technology today maybe to know diseases that could happen 10 years ago. Let me look at it this way. I have that technology. I just found out. I just found out about my 70 to 80% blockage, which could have caused a way more severe disease 10 years down the road, which we talked about.
Correct.
10 years later, 90% here, 70% here.
Absolutely.
Hai technology. ठीक है, technology will keep upgrading, will keep evolving, but we use what we have today. Mindset बदलना है यार. Conversation चाहिए हमें.
Wonderful, sir. Super important. Let us wrap this segment with some advice, especially for endurance athletes and for non-endurance athletes also.
Very simple advice. Most important advice is, do not judge your cardiac health by how you look, how much you can run, swim, bike, or lift, and the fact that you have no symptoms. Please don't. In other words, no symptoms, awesome strength, awesome endurance, six-pack, lean, doesn't mean anything when it comes to cardiac health. Let's look at it another way. You're overweight. You got a paunch. You are sedentary. It's possible your cardiac health is okay. Either way, get screened. Do not live on assumptions. Too important a muscle to live on assumptions. Do it for you. I always say, do it for your loved ones. Do it for your spouse. Do it for your kids. You owe a good heart to yourself and to all the people who love you.
Yeah.
That's my only advice. और मेरा कोई advice नहीं है. Get screened.
Thank you so much for that. And it is, in case of heart, it's not like a muscle that you will you'll have, that'll affect the quality of your life for a while. For example, let's say you have back issues, and let's say you have a spasm, or you break something, that'll hamper the quality of your life, and that's terrible. But in this case, there's no second chance. Like, you could, in the case of heart, you could just be game over.
It could be game over.
Yeah.
That's something that I always tell people, that I've had a calf spasm, I've had an ACL tear in my knee, I've had rotator cuff tear, I've had a high hamstring injury, I've had a glute injury. सब कुछ हुआ है यार. I started running so late in life that सब कुछ हुआ है मुझे. But that's an injury. I've stopped running and I'm okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't in hospital. I wasn't in ICU.
Yeah.
This is serious stuff, man. It could be game over.
Yeah.
But I do also want to offer another perspective, which is very important.
Yeah.
Just because you have cardiovascular disease does not mean your life is over. And here, I want to pat myself on the back, and I want to give you my example. I'm 51. I have cardiovascular disease. But I want to tell you something that most people don't know. In fact, I don't think I've ever shared this publicly. So you're the first person and the podcast that I'm sharing this with. 16th of September was my positive CVD diagnosis. How many workouts have I missed from 16th of September until today? 0. None. Have I worked out less intensity? Sure. That's part of my precaution. But I've not missed anything. I want to emphasize this because a lot of people I've heard, I don't know anyone, but I've heard, heart का issue मालूम हुआ, बहुत दुख, इतना दुख की depression, anxiety, अब तो मेरी जिंदगी खत्म हो गई. नहीं बॉस, एक नई जिंदगी शुरू हुई है. See what you can do. और कुछ नहीं तो walk तो कर सकते हो. क्लीनर खा के, वेट रिड्यूस करके, स्मोकिंग क्विट करके अपने लाइफ को सुधार तो सकते हो ना. इट्स अ चांस फॉर यू. व्यू इट दैट वे. सो यस, while it could be game over, if it's not game over, then it's the start of a new game. It's the start of my new life for me. I know more about heart health than I ever would have found out had I not been diagnosed.
Yeah.
So yeah, both things hold true.
Yeah.
It's very critical. Game could be over.
Yeah.
But once you get screened, if you find nothing, awesome. If you find something, awesome. You have it. Let's deal with it. It doesn't mean you have to be sedentary.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can do. The heart is much more powerful than you know. You are a very powerful human being. हम भूल जाते हैं यार how powerful we are.
Wow. So a question I want to ask you, it's a very layman question. I think the blockage that you talked about, so your widowmaker artery, the main artery, has 80% blockage. You're going to now follow all the protocols that you've been asked to follow, all the medications, everything that you need to do, you will be doing. What happens to this over the coming years? Does this blockage come down on its own? Does it remain where it is? Or do we not know?
That's not a layman question, man. That's a great question. In fact, it's probably a question that I would have loved a cardiologist to answer because I'm the layman here in terms of answering this for you. I told you I'm on 2 separate medications. One of the medication is called a statin. The reason it's very important for me to lower my LDL to as low as I can, I told you I'm in my mid-50s now, is because now what I've done is I have reduced or almost eliminated the likelihood of this blockage becoming worse. What is causing this blockage? Mostly the LDL. LDL इतना कम हो गया है कि ये 80% को 81, 82, 83 होने में बहुत टाइम लग जाएगा.
Okay.
So, in the normal course of action, if this blockage was undetected and my LDL remained elevated, the plaque would have grown and become thicker. The thicker the plaque, the more the artery gets blocked, more the chances of a cardiac event. तो एक तो हमने इसको nullify कर दिया almost. Can I tell you it will never happen, boss? I can't do that.
Of course.
But that's the role of a statin. The second role of a statin, which if you remember I mentioned,
Yes.
now this comes in. What a statin also does is it starts hardening the plaque. It starts putting calcium on the plaque.
Okay.
Now in this case, a hard plaque is better because a hard plaque is less likely to rupture. What happens to athletes who have severe blockage, who are doing intense exercise and don't know they have blockage. A lot of times, the heart is beating at 150, 60, 70, 180, the plaque ruptures. The plaque ruptures, there's bleeding, there's a lesion, a lot of stuff happens, and you can possibly collapse and die. That happens more when the plaque is soft. A hard plaque, from my understanding, a thick cap hard plaque is less likely to rupture. A statin hardens the plaque.
Okay.
Does a statin reverse blockage or reduce blockage? I don't know, Vipin.
Okay.
When I do an AMA on my gram and have a cardiologist answer this, we'll know more.
Sure.
But as of now, I will follow all the protocols, reduce mechanical stress on my heart, not do extreme stuff, take my statin, take my aspirin, carry my disprins.
Yeah.
By the nature of my plaque will change.
Yeah.
Will the amount change? All I know is it should not increase at the same rate at all. Will it decrease? I don't know.
Okay. What if you were to take the other route, which is of, what's the other option? The other option is to put a stent.
That's correct. Now, again, this becomes a slightly technical question, and I don't want to get too technical because, inadvertently, I don't want to say something that is not medically correct. So again, the disclaimer here is,
Sure.
all of this is my understanding from what the cardiologist has told me. I'm not a cardiologist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not professing any expert opinion. I'm just a messenger.
Sure.
Why have I not been stented despite an 80% blockage? Because I'm asymptomatic, because I didn't arrive at the hospital with a heart attack. So, mathematically, please understand, there is a risk, I'm living with a risk of a cardiac event. Let's call that risk A. A is the risk that the Daga Saga can have a cardiac event now. Now let's talk about the risk of the procedure of getting stented. Every procedure has a risk.
Right.
Let's call that risk B. However minuscule the risk is, it's B. There is also some risk that despite getting a stent, I can get a cardiac event. Let's call that risk C. What the cardiologist has told me is B plus C is currently greater than A. My risk of the procedure itself and of getting a cardiac event despite a stent cumulatively is greater than the risk of me getting a cardiac event just like this,
Right.
with statin, with aspirin, with everything.
Yeah.
So then it's clear to me.
Yeah.
It's a risk versus reward game.
Fair enough.
Now, had I got to the hospital with a cardiac event already, कोई option ही नहीं था यार, stent तो करना ही पड़ता. But my stress thallium is negative, blood flow is not getting affected. I've ran 2 half marathons since 16th of September at moderate effort, of course.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky again. Thank you, Karma. Thank you, the universe. The cardiologists that I'm seeing, they stent for a living. I want to repeat that. They stent for a living. They said, Mr. Daga, we don't want to touch you. We don't want to touch you. You are okay. You are living under a risk, but बहुत छोटा risk है. ये precautions करो, खत्म. अगर कोई symptoms हो, come back, we'll take it from there. Versus, हाँ, अभी operation करना है, अभी stent करना है. I'm so lucky. अगर वो लोग बोलते stent करो, तो करा लेता है यार. मैं कहाँ जिद करूँगा cardiologist से? That's it. But thank you. It's a great question, actually.
I'm glad, and thank you for answering all of these questions. You're doing a great service to the endurance community and to our sport, which is getting a bad rep, like I said earlier, because of these events that are happening.
No, so, 2 things. One, I have a lot of gratitude for the sport. It's because of endurance sports that probably I have collateral circulation and I'm where I am. So it hurts me if someone talks negatively about something so beautiful like exercise. What is too much? How much is too much? That's a very gray area. Sure. I've put a reel out there, but still there's a lot of gray. But there's no doubt that exercise is amazing. Coaches are amazing. Don't give them a bad name. That's number 1. And number 2, Vipin, I wanted to make sure that you know how thankful I am, how grateful I am that you took the time out to devote an entire segment on heart health, on cardiac health. You're an endurance athlete, so I know you have more empathy towards this. But thank you. I'm very grateful that you can be my voice to your listeners for this important topic. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So then I think we can begin the second segment, the
Yes.
Daga Saga. You've been very popular amongst my circles as well. And like everywhere you go, the stories that you broadcast are just so much fun. The entire Ladakh, we all felt like we were there. The Ladakh Marathon, we got an experience of the whole thing. It was wonderful. So, but this is what we see now.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit, and not too many people know. Let us go back to your childhood a little bit. Where were you born, raised? What was your childhood like? What was your upbringing like? And what were you like as a child?
Okay. So I'm a Delhiite. I was born on September 6th, 1972. I'm a Virgo. I was born in Delhi. I have lived all my life in Vasant Vihar in Delhi. That's where I was brought up. Only a few years ago, I shifted out. So I went to school in Delhi, St. Columbus. I was 6 years Shah Rukh Khan's junior. He was also in St. Columbus.
Okay.
My university, I went to the US. I went to USC, University of Southern California. I did my undergrad, worked there for a year, came back, did a bunch of stuff here. Then I went for my master's to Australia, University of New South Wales, Sydney, where I did my master's. Came back and I joined my family business, which I now run professionally. I professionalized it. So that's kind of me very fast forwarded from when I was born to where I am now.
Sure.
My childhood was awesome. Only great memories. I had a father who was very, very busy creating the life that he wanted me to enjoy. I should tell you, I have no siblings. So it was just the three of us, mom, dad, and me. And my dad pretty much spent all of his working life trying to create a future which I could enjoy so that I would not have had to struggle like he did. My parents moved from Calcutta to New Delhi 2 years before I was born, so about 1970. And that's what kept him busy. So it's something I have inexplicable gratitude for, that my father spent all of his time working to create a better future for me. My mom had to be the one who was there all the time taking care of me. She was a very, very strict mom, not the type of mom that you see on Insta now. She was super strict. And I think a lot of who I've become now in terms of my discipline, in terms of my consistency, the roots lie in how my mom brought me up. Those were different days.
Tell me one or two anecdotes and instances or something. How did she inculcate the discipline in you?
I want to tell you, those were days when people were not so sensitive about everything. Now, first of all, I'm not a parent. So there is no judgment here on parents and children.
Sure.
But what I know is you can't bring up kids now the way we were brought up. I was brought up in the 70s. I was brought up in the 80s. I would get the shit beat out of me all the time if I wasn't going to listen to my mom. Dad never raised a finger on me. He didn't have to. But my mom would beat the shit out of me. That's how she knew how to, that was her parenting. And I'm very grateful for everything. Yeah? This is who I've turned out to be. So I'll give you one great thing that I learned from her. Very painful at that time, but I'll tell you, she would lose her shit if I would waste food. घर में जो खाना आता था प्लेट पे, खत्म करना है उसे. You have no right to look and say, Mom, I don't want to eat this, I want to eat that. You get the shit beat out of you. You eat what's on your plate, and you better finish the whole goddamn plate. So I remember I used to come back from school, strict vegetarian house. So I would bribe and blackmail my servants into ordering non-veg food, so that there was a small window I had of about 15 minutes after coming back from school where my mom would go for a shower, and I was supposed to be in the shower before meeting for lunch at the table. In the shower, while not having a shower, I would be eating chicken tikkas, which my servants have sneaked into the house. My mom's going to see this and beat the shit out of me again, but that's okay. Now I'm used to it. I'm 51, but how does that matter? So when I would come down to eat the vegetarian lunch, Marwadi lunch, I'm already full. So I would eat, and at every given opportunity, I would put a little bit of food here in the chair next to me. This was my standard routine. Mom wouldn't know, and the service were too scared So after lunch was over, they would clean that up. One day, Vipin, वो साफ करना भूल गए. And I will never forget, there were 2 rotis there. 2 रोटियां मैंने रख दी थी 1:30 बजे. और शाम को 8:30 बजे मेरी मॉम को वो 2 रोटी मिल गई. And she put 2 and 2 together and she figured it out.
कैसा था नजारा?
She beat the living daylights out of me. इतनी पिटाई हुई और खाना नहीं मिला मुझे. She said, ठीक है, तुम्हें घर का खाना नहीं मिलता है? नहीं मिलेगा. Grounded and no food. रो लो, धो लो, जो कर लो. जितना रो और पिटाई. This was it then. Yeah. But what it taught me was respect for food. It taught me that there are people who have no privilege when it comes to food. You are getting food. So this no complaining about food is something, the roots lie in don't waste food, mother. Now we can debate, your mom could have chosen a better way to have taught you the lesson. All that to me, I don't believe. That was the best she did and I'm grateful. Yeah. But now, I don't waste food. I eat it because it's okay. It's not poison. It's not causing anything. It's just a taste issue. मैं खा लेता हूँ. And it's helped me a lot. It's helped me because nutrition, and we'll talk about this, is all about consistency. Right. It's not about, नहीं ये तो मैंने कल खाया था, नहीं मुझे हर रोज अलग-अलग खाना चाहिए. That's not how you function if you want to thrive.
Right.
This is brutal, blunt fact. And I'm like this because the root goes back to my mom. Ki be grateful that you have food. Yeah. Eat it, say thank you, and move on.
Amazing. And the jury is still out on parenting. Like there are different researches. The one claims one thing, the other claims the other. But there's no consensus on this is the best way to parent because there isn't one. It's just everybody learns as they go, and there are studies proving everything.
That's right.
So yeah. So our parents did the best they could at the time.
I think that's the point. My mom did the best. Her intention was to bring up the best child that she could with the qualities that she wanted to see in her child. So that I give as less trouble to my dad and I make the best out of what I can. That was her intention. और कोई बुरा intention नहीं था. That's what she did and that's the best she could do. Did I have trouble with it then? Sure, I did. But look at me now, man. I go back, I look back and I say thank you.
And what were you like as a student? Were you one of those intelligent kids?
It's weird for me. I don't want to say whether I was intelligent or not, but I was a kamchor. I was not a very hardworking guy, at least in school. I would try to do the best that I can with minimal work. Was I good at academics? I was above average. Again, at that time, being an 80 to 82 or 83 percenter was decent.
Yeah.
Now 80% is more like a failure. मतलब 99 मिलता है. उस समय ICSE, ISC में in those days it was not, that was not the standard. Yeah. The standard of education there, I was above average. Would I call myself brilliant? Absolutely not. But I was not the hardest worker in the room. I loved sports. I would love to bunk as much as I could for sports. I was in the tennis team. I would run, I would do as much as I can extracurricular so that I wouldn't have to be in class. But not the hardest worker, not the most disciplined guy, but I would get the job done. And 80, 82, 83, 85% मिल जाता था, which was decent enough for my parents to be saying, ठीक है, हमारा बेटा कर रहा है कुछ.
Did you, in your teenage, and did you go through that phase of insecurities and before you had all this understanding and wisdom that you have now at this age, did you go through a phase like that where you were in just wondering what this is all about and मैं क्या करूँगा life में, what will I make of this and what is its whole purpose, or did you have a jolly life throughout?
So let's talk about some stuff that I probably haven't talked about in a very long time, and I don't even know when was the last time I talked about it, but I'm very happy to do so with you and on your podcast.
So.
Let's talk about self-esteem. I went through many, many years with not low but negative self-esteem. How did that manifest? There are 2 or 3 different ways that lack of self-esteem, fear manifests. One of them is bedwetting. And that's something that I used to do. Honestly, I don't remember until what age.
What age I was going to ask.
I'm sorry, it's not like I don't want to talk about this, which is why I brought it up. But until very late in the game, I used to be a bedwetter.
Yeah, me too. So 7th or 8th standard is what I remember.
Maybe. I don't know if I was beyond 7th or 8th, but I was. And no matter what research you want to look at, no matter how politely you want to cut this off, slice the data, a big root cause of this is fear, insecurity, low self-esteem, number one. Number two, how did this impact life generally? Not much, because I knew I'd wet my bed, I would clean everything up, I've done all of that in not my house, but in others' houses.
Yeah, so that's where the most
It's
embarrassing
embarrassing, but I've woken up in the middle of the night, sorted it out, washed it right. I've done all of this. I can smile about it now, but imagine how traumatic it is for a kid growing up, right?
And especially when I would go to a relative's place and then this would happen, I would wake up in the morning and the first thought is, shit, what's going to happen? And also the shit that I'm going to get, because relatives weren't very
So
kind.
I used to hide all of that.
Yeah.
My parents knew, so there was like a plastic sheet in my bed. Now imagine having guys come and sleep over, and just the embarrassment of knowing that this guy, and kids are insensitive in the nicest way. They will say whatever they want to you, man. They'll call you whatever they want to call you, and that's how it is. So it's just a virtuous circle of low self-esteem, which gets worse because you get bullied about it. So that was a huge thing in my life. It didn't impact my day-to-day routine because this was happening at night, and I was so that's one. But now let me talk to you about something that had a huge impact on me day to day. And this also goes back to one of my followers who asked me the question about social media and comfort on camera. Another symptom that is very clear of the result of low self-esteem, poor confidence, insecurity. There could be, of course, a medical reason, but a psychological is stammering, stuttering.
Mm-hmm.
There could be medical issues, but I'm not going into that. I'm just talking about the mindset and mental issues. It's very clearly the effect of low self-esteem, fear, massive insecurity. I was a habitual, compulsive stammerer. I used to stutter.
That's hard to believe now.
It's very hard to believe.
Yeah.
And I will tell you how I fixed it, but we'll get to that. This was in school. And school, being someone who stammers, was traumatic.
Oof.
I will never forget, there was a class I was in, and I don't know if this was the same when you went to school, but sometimes on day 0 or day 1, everyone had to stand one by one and say their name. So आप खड़े हो गए, अपना नाम बोलोगे, and then you go on. I was shitting. I was literally shitting because the 2 syllables that were the worst for me, Vipin, were ma and ka.
You stammered
Ma and ka, I could just get stuck on. Now my name is Madhur. That's a problem. So I remember, I so clearly remember that there's a teacher and I am shivering because I'm like, oh my God, mera number aane wala hai. And the guy in front of me stands up and Murphy's Law, super confident kid, gets up. Yeah, ye mera naam. And he sits down and I get up and I freeze. I freeze because I don't want to start stammering. So I just freeze. And I remember the teacher looking at me, and a minute or 2 later, she's now starting to think I'm being disrespectful. That you're trying to make a point that you can stand up and not say your name. So she says, "Theek hai, tum naam nahi bataoge, we're going to call you Anamika."
Wow. That's harsh.
It's just harsh, man, because it's an all-boys school and no one has pity on you. They are all laughing at you, right? It was traumatic. It was also very traumatic because every time my parents had guests over, I had to go in and they would say, "This is our son." And they say, "Beta, kya naam hai tumhara?" Screwed. How do I say Madhur without the syllable M? And I'm going to get stuck. So imagine I'm sitting in my room going, oh my God, I hope my parents don't call me. So nothing was hunky-dory here. So that's the dark part. But the fun part is, how did I fix the stammering? By the way, the bedwetting, I think, just went away.
Yeah, same.
Just very lucky. It just
But
went
I didn't
away.
know that this is associated with low self-esteem.
100%. It's fear.
Yeah.
100%. I was not on any medication, nothing. So how did I fix the stammering? That was super proactive. I told you I went to college. I went to USC, University of Southern California. And in my first semester, Vipin, I took theater class. Theater 101. Now, what I didn't know is the people who take theater are the people who are most comfortable in English, so that without thinking, blindfolded, they get an A+. So I was the only ass who took theater who was a stammerer, a stutterer, shit scared of public speaking. मतलब no chance you can get me in front of कैमरा तो बड़ी दूर की बात है यार. कहाँ कौन सा कैमरा, 2 लोग सामने नहीं हो सकते.
Wow.
नाम कैसे बोलूंगा मैं? I took theatre class. I said ठीक है यार, let's see. फेल हो जाऊंगा ना, कोई बात. It was my first semester. My professor was Eric Schmidt. Fast forward. The final project was 800 people in the auditorium, all sorts of people from university. You have to stand on stage and you have to give an impromptu presentation, theatrical presentation. My grade was an A, something I'm very proud of. A. And when I graduated, I have a photo of me graduated with the one photo I have only with a professor, with Professor Schmidt, and he wrote there, with highest regards, Professor Schmidt. It's on my dining table in my parents' house till date. So, to everyone watching, and specifically to the follower, if I remember his name is Tarun, being uncomfortable in front of the camera was an understatement. You couldn't pay me to get in front of the camera. But I didn't fix it, I didn't dream it away. I worked at it. I worked through the trauma. And now I see a lot of people say, the only way to break through fear is to face what you fear. I did that. It wasn't fun being in America, in front of American English-speaking folks, being a guy who has an Indian accent. This is 90s. उस समय ये सब इतनी sensitivity नहीं थी कि oh my god हम इसको tease नहीं कर सकते हैं. That was a different era. In my view, a much cleaner, better area than all the sensitivities and identifications we are surrounded with now. उस समय सब कुछ चलता था यार. They could call you whatever. कुछ नहीं है, कोई problem नहीं है. उनके सामने धीरे 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 I got better. Finally, I got an A. Now I'm at a point where you get me in front of a room. As long as it's a room that I want to be in and the audience is someone I want to talk to, you'll be like, बस बहुत हो गया भैया, शांत हो जाओ.
That's amazing. That's not the inspiration I was prepared for. Like, this is not what I was expecting. It is super inspiring, especially for someone like me. I've just started a video podcast and I'm not comfortable in front of the camera at all. And I'm dreading recording an intro for this podcast as well, because I'll have to be in front of the camera and record an introduction. Not comfortable at all. But
and that's totally okay, Vipin. Remember, uncomfortable is very, very far away. I would shit, I would piss. I would be like this, bro. यार मॉम डैड ने बुला लिया और मुझे मधुर कैसे बोलूंगा मैं? उस समय शाहरुख खान की मूवी भी नहीं आई थी कि ये स्टाइल हो सकता था बोलने का. You're dying, bro. Now I've told so many of my friends, get me on as many podcasts as you can. I want to talk about heart health. Now I don't have that problem in front of a camera because I have a voice. I want to speak. And meditation has taught me not to worry about judgment. There may be someone watching me even now, right now, thinking this guy is full of shit. Okay, bro. Have a good life. Good for you. But there might be someone saying, oh my God, my kid stammers and there is hope. I stammer and there is hope. It's okay. That's their prerogative. I don't want to worry about them. I worry about me. So it's been a journey, but this time frame was 1990, September to December, my first semester in USC. January onwards, I got better and better at speaking to a point now where I am who I am. So to whoever's asked, no, I was not comfortable at all. I would never want to be recorded. Luckily, उस समय mobile phones और cameras नहीं थे, मेरी तो हालत और खराब हो जाती. But I worked up to this. There was no medicine, there was no tablet, there was no syringe. It was work. It was exposing me to the trauma. It was exposing me to my weakness and getting slowly better and better and having people around me support me, congratulate me, say, good job, buddy. Koi baat nahi. Ek baar aur padho, ek baar aur padho, ek baar aur padho. So the more intros you record, the more people will say, Vipin, what an awesome podcast. You feel better. It's not like you're looking for that validation, but we are not Buddha. It helps. You do the best you can do. And also acceptance. If I was to stammer today, let's say on something, and someone says, ये क्या कहो? हाँ यार, वो बहुत पुरानी आदत थी, कभी-कभी हो जाता है. शर्म नहीं है. Be proud of who you are. I'm lucky I don't stammer now, but hey, my heart is blocked. I'm proud of who I am. I'm not the tallest guy in the room. I'm proud of who I am. भगवान ने यही दिया यार. Got to be on your own team. That's a big thing I've learned. You must be on your own team before you ask others to join the team. एक member तो होना जरूरी है ना यार.
Wow. Talking of self-esteem, I think this naturally sort of brings us to one question I wanted to ask you about your relationship with yourself. Like you share on your social media, you share a lot of motivational stuff as well, right? Every morning in particular. I think these are two separate questions. First one is about your relationship with yourself. Were you always kind to yourself, or is this something that you've developed over time?
I have to be very honest with you, Vipin. Until I started meditating, I didn't even know what it means. Are you kind to yourself? का मतलब क्या होता है यार? अच्छा, मतलब do I eat good food? Do I go for massages? Do I go for a nice shampoo and haircut? यही सोचता हूँ मैं. I don't know. Why would I be thinking about all of this stuff? Kind to myself, self-respect. ये क्या है ये सब यार? बियर पियो, बर्गर खाओ, लाइफ एंजॉय करो. पर्सपेक्टिव अलग होती है ना. कौन सोचता है ये सब? मैं तो नहीं सोचता था. तो these are all very new things for me. Self-love, self-care, self-respect. भाई मारवाड़ी हूँ, धंधा करो, पैसे कमाओ, दारू पियो, सिगरेट छोड़ो, थोड़ी बहुत एक्सरसाइज कर लो, तौन नहीं होनी चाहिए. और क्या है? This is life यार. Hey, what is all this? All this requires this finger pointing this way. हमारे तो फिंगर ऐसे पॉइंट ना, तूने ये किया, उसने ये किया, इसी में जिंदगी जा रही थी. Until Vipassana and meditation happened. Meditation taught me on day 0, end of January 2016. It taught me कि जब आंखें बंद करते हैं तो वो अंधकार नहीं है. अंधकार कुछ और है. अंधकार है कि आंखें खुली हुई हैं और आप कुछ देखना नहीं चाहते हो. अंधकार ये नहीं है कि आपकी आंखें बंद हैं. आंखें बंद होगी तो आप अपने अंदर झांकोगे, वहीं तो रोशनी है. That's the real light.
Tell me more.
Looking inwards. Meditation is all about this, no? You've closed your eyes and you're going through your meditation. You know, this podcast is not about guiding people with meditation, so I won't get into technique. It's about the concept. Vipassana का concept क्या है? अंदर अपने आप को देखो, अपने आप को समझो, अपने सांस को देखो, whatever it is. That then says self. Self वही word है ना? Self love, self care, self respect. भाई जब आपने अपने सेल्फ को कभी देखा ही नहीं है तो घंटा सेल्फ. यू आर सेइंग आर यू काइंड टू योर सेल्फ. फिर वह वर्ड आ गया ना सेल्फ. मैं तो अपने सेल्फ को देखता ही नहीं हूं, मैं तो और लोगों को देख रहा हूं ना. सो योर क्वेश्चन वाज वर यू ऑलवेज लाइक दिस. आई कैन ओनली आंसर योर क्वेश्चन बाय सेइंग आई डिडंट इवन नो दीज वर्ड्स. व्हाट इज दिस वर्ड सेल्फ लव? आई कैन लव अ गर्ल, आई कैन लव माय पेरेंट्स. व्हाट इज दिस सेल्फ लव कि मैं अपने आप को झप्पी मारते रहूं? What is this? I didn't know. Meditation taught me this. उंगली ऐसे, आंखें भी इस तरह देखती हैं, सब कुछ वहां देखते. तो you close your eyes not just to sleep, not just to nap, but to look in. So it has been a process. Now it's been 7 years of meditation. 7 years, na? 2016 से 2023.
Right.
Now this is natural to me. कि तुम्हें देखने से पहले मैं पहले अपने आप को देखूं. बस मैं ठीक हूं ना. तुम्हें पानी पिलाने से पहले मैं देखूंगा मेरे ग्लास में पानी है ना, ये तो एम्प्टी ग्लास है ना. यू कांट पोर फ्रॉम एन एम्प्टी कप. कहना बहुत आसान है, पर हाउ डू यू इवन नो योर कप इज एम्प्टी? ये तो दिख रहा है मुझे, आई कैन सी दिस, बट हाउ डू यू सी द कप ऑफ द सेल्फ? यू कांट. मेडिटेशन शोज यू दैट. सो नो, इट हैज बीन अ प्रोसेस, इट हैज टेकन टाइम, एंड द ओनली थिंग दैट हैज टॉट मी सेल्फ इज मेडिटेशन. Otherwise, it's just theory. Self-love, self-care, self-respect, ये सब theory. Now I understand कि ये जो मैं हर रोज भाग रहा हूँ, ये जो मैं अच्छा खाना खा रहा हूँ, strength training कर रहा हूँ, ये क्यों कर रहा हूँ? Self-love, self-care, self-respect.
How did you get exposed to meditation? जब आपको ये सारे शब्द पता ही नहीं थे, why did you feel the need to reach out for it?
तो इसका एक थोड़ा सा philosophical answer है विपिन. I know it may sound a little ethereal and up in the air and all of that, but this is how it is. यार विपश्यना में कहते हैं कि सबको विपश्यना नहीं मिलता है. Not everyone in the world gets विपश्यना. एक्सपोजर ही नहीं मिलता है. आपने कोई अपने पूर्व जन्म में कहीं पर पास्ट लाइफ में कुछ पुण्य किया होगा. You must have done something pure for Vipassana to come into your life. First of all, just come into your life. There is a word, Vipassana. There is a word, meditation. Number one. Many people will hear that and say, it's not for me. This garbage Vipassana meditation. ये सब नहीं. दौड़ेंगे, लिफ्ट करेंगे, अपने को सेक्सी बनाएंगे, अच्छा खाना खाएंगे. All this we understand. Tangible है. ये क्या है ऐसे? So to be exposed and get beyond all of that to say, wow, ये क्या है? इसको मैं देखना चाहता हूँ, ट्राई करना चाहता हूँ. Already you are a step ahead. इसके लिए कुछ पुण्य होगा. So now after 7-8 years of meditation, I've realized a lot of meditation masters and teachers have told me, this is not the first life that you've been meditating. You were a meditator, but for 44 years of your life, it was a dormant seed. वो बीज था, मिट्टी के नीचे पड़ा हुआ था. उसको औषधि नहीं मिली, फर्टिलाइजर नहीं मिला, पानी नहीं मिला. वो मुझे करीब अगस्त सितंबर 2015 में मिला. Through another course I did. I will forever be grateful to a gentleman called Sameer Kamboj. Sameer, I hope you're seeing this. Through Sameer Kamboj, who's also one of the directors on the Orient Bell Board, I did a course with him. It was a classroom experience, fantastic, intense course called Effective Personal Productivity, EPP. और उसमें एक curriculum में एक part था where you had to wear headphones. It was called grounding and centering. That, I'm clear, was the water to that seed. October, November, I'm on a website called dhamma.org.
Been there.
And I've registered for my first Vipassana end of January 2016. No clue, Vipin, what I'm getting into. By the way, I've written a blog, which is a PDF now, on my first Vipassana experience. It was probably the most excruciating experience of my adult life. जितना मैं अपने पहले विपश्यना के कोर्स में जितना रोआ हूं 11 दिन में, मुझे लगता है क्यूमुलेटिवली मैं अपने लाइफ में इतना नहीं रोआ हूं.
So let's hear about the entire 11 days, because I've done that once. Keshav has just come back last month from his first Vipassana.
Okay.
Yeah, let's hear what was your first one like.
So by the way, I've written an entire blog about it, and it's a PDF. मैं भेज भी दूंगा तुम्हें.
Sure. I'll link in the show notes.
Yeah. So first of all, let's go at the very gross physical level. I'm not a yogi. My stretching and mobility isn't the greatest. Even today, tight hips, tight hip flexors, tight hams, tight glutes. तो कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं है ना कि 11 घंटे बैठना है. चाहे पार्ट्स में बैठो. यू रिमेंबर 6:30 से 4:30 से 6:30, 8 से 11, 1 से 5. कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं है ना. और लाइफ क्या थी? हलचल, मूवमेंट. इसके अंदर की मूवमेंट की अलग बात है. ये मूवमेंट बात कर रहा हूं. द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ जस्ट सिटिंग एंड डूइंग नथिंग इज सो एलियन. इट्स सो bloody alien. तो फिजिकली मेरी जान निकल गई. पेन लाइक आई कांट टेल यू. अच्छा जी, पेन हो रहा है, किसी को बोल नहीं सकते. दिस नॉट टॉकिंग, जीरो एक्सपीरियंस. बिकॉज नाउ आई एम पास्ट द स्टैमरिंग स्टटरिंग फेज ना. नाउ आई वांट टू टॉक. आई हैव द कॉन्फिडेंस. अब तो वो बात बहुत पुरानी हो गई. नो वन टू टॉक टू. देन द होल थिंग अबाउट क्लोजिंग योर आईज. सोने के अलावा कब आईज क्लोज करते हो? नैप लेने के लिए. And then when you're just sitting with yourself, trying to get past the pain, somehow you've had your eyes closed. सारी जब सच्चाइयां अपने बारे में नजर आती हैं और जब रोना शुरू होता है, तो it's just an incredible feeling of being overwhelmed. I don't think there was a day, not one day, maybe apart from day one, where I didn't want to go. I just was like, bro, this is not for me. This is messed up. ये क्या है यार? ये पुण्य किया होगा यार कुछ कि I stuck in there.
Still you got through.
और उससे बड़ा पुण्य मैंने किया कि after getting through, I practiced. From an experiential point of view, I can't tell you anything good about course 1. It was all excruciating. बाद में समझ आया, my God, कितनी सफाई हुई है. After the course was over, I went and told my teacher, Acharya Ram Lal Patil. इगतपुरी में मैंने किया पहला कोर्स. I went and told him, पाँव छूने गया तो वहां तो छू भी नहीं सकते हो पाँव. They're like, boss, हम गुरु नहीं है, you know the whole system. He said, नहीं बैठी बैठी बताइए क्या हुआ. तो फिर रोने लग गया. I said, यार दिन भर मैं रो रहा था. He said, wow, ये जो आपका अहम भाव पिघल रहा है, उस समय समझ नहीं आया कि क्या होता है अहम भाव. आप, your ego is melting. So Vipin, the first thing that Vipassana taught me, the very first thing that Vipassana taught me, it was very difficult lesson, Vipin. It taught me that I am a very self-centered, egoistical, judgmental human being. जिसको शुद्ध हिंदी में बोलते हैं स्वय केंद्रित इंसान. But nobody says that to you. So what do you believe? विपश्यना में याद है एक डिस्कोर्स में मूर्तियों के बारे में बताते हैं. आपने अपने अंदर एक मूर्ति गाड़ी होती है. This is my image of me. What is my image of Madhur Daga? Nice guy, chilled out guy, cool guy, not an egotistical guy, judgmental guy. ये सब थोड़ी अपने मूर्ति में लिखोगे. It's beautifully polished. ये सारा polish निकल गया and I realized, my God, I'm filled with ego, totally self-centered, my way or the highway. That's who I am as a human being. But I have built so many masks above it. I have so many facades and layers on top of it that the world perceives me as someone totally different. And that's okay. That's cool. But it doesn't change the fact that, so let's fast forward to today. I look a certain way, but the fact is my heart is 80% blocked, one of the arteries. But you wouldn't know if I don't tell you. If I never want to tell you, you'll never know. But reality है. तो मेरी पर्सनालिटी की ये रियलिटी थी. तो पहले तो यही समझ के फटने लग गई कि my God, doesn't mean I'm a bad human being.
Of course.
I'm not a serial killer. But I have these characteristics which are hidden. That I'm super self-centered. तो इसलिए इतना रोना आता है ना कि my God, ये the amount of anger I carry, the amount of bitterness I carry, my inability to forgive and hold on to shit. इस साले मैं कभी नहीं भूलूंगा तूने क्या किया. XYZ. All that was me. तो ये समझ आया यार बैठ करके.
That's amazing. So maybe we should do a separate episode altogether on Vipassana and meditation because I think this is a very deep subject.
Yes.
That एक तो इसकी बहुत लेयर्स हैं समझने की. इसको एक फंक्शनल मेडिटेशन भी बहुत लोग करते हैं 10 मिनट 15 मिनट का, which has its own value, maybe it calms your mind and all of those things. But this layer goes deeper, and then there could be further meanings that you attach to it.
See, beyond a point, Vipin, I've also learned with Vipassana. You've done one course, I've done 15. Beyond a point, intellectual and theoretical discussion, with all due respect to a podcast, are useless. You have to do it or not do it. किताबें पढ़ने से ना अनुभव नहीं होता है. विपश्यना में एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट वर्ड है, केशव को याद होगा बिकॉज ही जस्ट डन इट. अनुभव, एक्सपीरियंस वर्सेस लिखाई पढ़ाई. अनुभव करना बहुत जरूरी है. बट व्हाट आई वांटेड टू गेट आउट फ्रॉम दिस सेगमेंट, नंबर 1 इज अवेयरनेस. All roads lead to Rome.
Yep.
ये भी इसी मैंने बोला ना, relentless drive to awareness. We started with it. ना, we are going back to it. January 2016 was not about awareness of the heart. It was awareness about Madhur Daga's character, my virtues, my lack of virtues. Who am I? That was an awesome recognition.
Madhur, I want to ask you about your work life a little bit because you run a very successful company, and on the outside, anybody would call you successful. Do you consider yourself successful?
I do. I consider myself successful because I've succeeded at what I want to do, balancing my professional and personal life. Have I succeeded in where I want the company to go? No. That's going to be a journey. So success isn't just one goalpost. I measure my success with the fact that am I able to devote enough time to growing the business, but also be able to do everything for the self. And I'm very successful there. So my idea with the company has also stemmed from meditation and a sense of detachment. Part of knowing myself was knowing what I'm really good at and what I know others could be better at than me. So today we have the company being run professionally by people who are doing things that I can't do. I wouldn't want to do. So if I was running the company full time, day to day, I would not be able to do a lot of the things that I want to do. I'm clear about that. I would rather spend time with my meditation, with my endurance training, with spreading, positive, awareness as well as dumb humor on the gram. I want to be able to do all of that. But at the same time, I have a responsibility to the stakeholders of a public limited company, which is why I've done my best since 2018 onwards, which will be almost 6 years now, to create the best, absolutely best professional team that I can to lead the business. So the business is now very clearly separated with ownership and management. I don't do day to day, but I spend enough time with the business to know that it's headed in the right direction. My day to day is spent doing things that I love more for me and to be able to serve the community in whatever way I can. To be able to spend time with my aging parents. These are important things for me now. I've gotten here at 51. It wasn't like this 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So this has also been a journey.
Okay. And about when you say stakeholders, I've seen you, because what you do at work as well, like you do post some stuff about work and, all the people that work with you. So I've seen stories with, I'm forgetting the name, your driver.
Parsuram Alam.
Parsuram.
My homemade, also my live-in maid.
All these people.
Even at office, my assistant Hani Panwar.
And you help them with various things. You do seem to care about what they're eating and about educating them and stuff like that. There seems to be a purpose, like I was telling you before we started rolling, there seems to be soul in that also. It doesn't seem very superficial and transactional as most working relationships are.
So, Vipin, it might sound tiring because it's going to be repetitive. All roads lead to Rome. Meditation has taught me karma. It's taught me a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude has taught me that saying thank you is not just for things you receive directly. There's a lot of indirect stuff that the universe is doing for you. My life is the way it is, not just because of me. It's because of a lot of people around me who can help me be the way I am today. I live in Hemkund Colony, which is pretty far away from where we are recording right now.
Yeah.
Someone drove me here. Of course, it's his job. I pay him for it. But that's not all. I still have to be grateful for the fact that I have this life where I don't have to worry about getting stuck in traffic and being behind the wheel. Not everyone has that life. I'm very cognizant of the fact that there are people who might be working twice as hard as me who don't have that life yet. I do. So I have to thank the universe for that. And I go out of my way to thank everyone who you don't see. They are not on the podcast.
Yeah.
But without them, my life would never be this way. That includes my maid, my security, my chauffeurs, everybody. The gardeners at my farm, because of whom I get organic vegetables every day. So thank you isn't just for what you receive directly. Thank you is also for a lot of stuff which ordinarily we take for granted. So one view could be, paise de raha hu, apna kaam kar raha hai yaar. That's not how I look at it. Nobody works for free and that's okay. So the purpose behind that is gratitude. And I've realized to say thank you to someone can change their entire day. It makes a huge difference. So I like to make a positive difference because that I think is a gift I have. A lot of people may be doing way more than me, but they may not have the ability to communicate it. There may be people who've got my heart condition doing as much or more than me, but they don't know how to get in front of a camera. They don't know how to communicate it. I have the gift that I can. So it's also my gift to be able to go and say thank you or make a silly reel with both my chauffeurs, which I did a couple of days ago. I can do that. I'm comfortable to do that. So it's a gift I have and I make use of it.
Amazing. Yeah. It spreads a lot of love.
It does.
Yeah. So one question I have about your life before, and people don't on the gram who've joined you later. In fact, I don't think any part of this part of your life is there on the gram. The life before Instagram, life before fitness.
Yes.
Right. So at what age did fitness happen to you and what was your lifestyle like before that? And you've touched upon this, you've given us a hint that 6 years is how long you've been into fitness. But before that, whatever you did could be causing what's happening today. But what was that life like? Tell us a little bit.
So I'll divide your question into two. My fitness life really in terms of consistency started when I was about 44. I'm 51 now. So about 6-7 years is when I've consistently been doing some sort of cardiovascular work, cardio work, endurance work, running, swimming, biking,
Mobility.
lifting, mobility, something or the other. I've become super consistent over the last 2-3 years, but uske pehle kuch to ho raha tha. I was always active before that. I used to play tennis. I was a golfer, although golfing at my level is not an athletic sport, but at least you're out there at 5 in the morning, walking maybe 5, 6,000, 7,000 yards. So, theek hai. I was never sedentary, but I call myself an athlete. I wasn't an athlete. That is number one. Number two, part of having a fitness routine is nutrition. Nutrition very clearly started 5 years ago. I'm not ashamed, but I should say, I 10 years ago wouldn't know what is the difference between a protein and a carb. Like if you ask me, ye jo hai ye, isme kya hai, protein, carbs or fat? I would be like, ye almonds hai yaar. Isse matlab badam kehte hain, acha lagta hai mujhe khana. Isse kya hota hai, I don't know. Now I know a lot more. Nuts hai, good fat, ye wo. This has all been very recent. It's been very recent that it's embedded in me. The fundamental, the pillar of healthcare is nutrition. Then you stack sleep, exercise, everything else. It all starts with what you put inside of you. All of this has been the last 6-7 years. Nutrition and consistency with work has been the last 4 or 5 years. What was life before this? The absolute opposite of this. I've already given you a hint with nutrition. I would eat because it was tasty and because my tongue liked it. And that's it. Ye processed carbs, refined sugar, refined oil, hydrogenated oil, boss. You shove all of this up where the sun doesn't shine. Mujhe khana de do mera. Ye refined flour mat khao, boss. Maida. Kaun sa maida? My favorite roti was Rumali roti. I didn't even know it was made of maida until a few years ago. And I didn't care. No regrets. But this is how I was. And I had a great time with it. Why was I not overweight and all of that? Because I always told you I was active. Kuch to activity hoti thi. But you are not what you look like. It may be a lot going on inside. So life before all of this was clueless on nutrition, clueless on the harmful effects of drinking more than a certain amount. I would never say I was an alcoholic, but I would probably drink more than I needed to. And I would binge drink more than often. I don't think I would do it because I was trying to escape something. I just loved alcohol, man. There's no other way to put it. I love beer. I love wine. I love malt. I love tequila. I love alcohol. So if I love something...
Hard to believe because now it's a very different story.
I still love alcohol, but now I'm more aware. Beer isn't poison. Malt isn't poison. But I know when to drink and how much to drink it. And also, a lot of people ask me this. I'm very lucky, but it's also not luck, it's work. I've worked myself into being someone whose body will reject things that are not good for it. Today, I cannot eat 3 slices of pizza and drink 5 beers and not have a massive problem tomorrow morning. In my 20s and 30s, kuch farak nahi padta tha yaar. You know it. So, clueless on nutrition, drank a little bit too much. Why? Because I loved it, yaar. I love being drunk. There's no other way to do it. I was a fun guy. I think I can talk about it. I would smoke up regularly. I wouldn't carry it all the time with me, but I love smoking up. I loved weed. Cigarettes, I started smoking beedies when I was 12. Not proud of this, but beediyan peeta tha and I smoked from 12 to 31. I've lived that life. That's a regret I have. I wish I hadn't smoked. It's just the dumbest thing someone can do is smoke, especially nicotine. But that's who I was, man. And that was my life before. I was not overweight. I was not obese simply because I had some activity. But clueless on everything else, inconsistent with everything else. That was my life.
How does the transformation happen? What does the process look like? What did it look like for you? And in your journey, in your process of transformation, have you learned a few things that you think can help some people who are at that stage wanting desperately to make that change?
Yes, absolutely. How did the transformation happen? Why? Again, same answer. It is not a coincidence that my physical transformation started with a mental transformation. Ye coincidence nahi hai. 44, 45. Oh, what else started in life? Vipassana. What did Vipassana teach me? Self-awareness. Be aware, Madhur, कि तुम क्या कर रहे हो, क्या खा रहे हो, क्या पी रहे हो, उतना पीने के बाद कैसे बिहेव करते हो. Be aware, देखो अपने आप को देखो, समझो अपने आप को. So I'm suddenly like, wow, man, I'm not doing any favors to myself. Of course, I'm getting older,
Sure.
so age also has its. But it all was a perfect storm, right?
Yeah.
So transformation started with me saying to myself, I don't want to be where I am. एक कहावत होती है ना, the first step towards going somewhere is to say, I don't want to be where I am. If I'm happy sitting in this chair, I have no incentive to move to the sofa. मैं खुश हूं यहां यार, तो क्यों जाऊं? Effort लग रही है ना. तो the first trigger has to be, मैं खुश नहीं हूं. So another saying, I'm dropping these sayings because this is stuff I believe in. Before you start figuring out how, you have to figure out why. If your why is clear, it is true that the how can happen. The how isn't easier, but it can happen. Pehle why.
How does one go about figuring out why?
For me, it was my meditation. For me, it was my self-awareness. For me, it was understanding I am not doing myself any favors. I'm hurting myself. I'm having health issues. I'm bloated. I have constipation. I have rhinitis. I have a lot of issues which I didn't know then are rooted in the gut. Bad food choices is causing issues here. बहुत चीजें थी.
And a lot of things that you're doing, like with alcohol and caffeine and various other things that we overdo in particular, what they're doing is actually they're just helping you numb everything, and which is where you don't see the signs, you don't see all of the signals that you're getting.
You understand gluttony?
Yeah.
The word gluttony? Very powerful saying. Gluttony is a sign that something is eating you from within. Literally, gluttony is eating or drinking too much. Na?
Right.
Gluttony is a sign that something is eating you from within. It's an escape.
Wow.
It's a great escape, man. Sugar.
Yeah.
What a phenomenal escape. And everything with refined sugar.
Yeah.
What a phenomenal escape. I know there might be some endurance athletes looking at this. So this is not that context. You're doing a 4-hour ride and you need sugar. No, not that sugar.
Yeah.
I'm talking about refined sugar for someone who doesn't need it for energy, but someone needs it for so-called artificial happiness. Kya hai sugar? Nicotine, kya hai? Escape. You are trying to escape from a reality of your life. Meditation teaches you to look at that reality. Sit with that reality, which is why it's so difficult. इसलिए तो इतने आंसू बहते हैं यार. Who cries if you're eating ice cream? No one. You're happy. Who cries when you're eating that sexy pastry? Nobody. It's happiness. To sit and understand I have a problem requires a lot of effort, and tab aansu aata hai. So, very clearly, the choices I'm making now they're built in. But the transformation started with the practice of meditation, self-awareness, that I need to do this better for myself. I need to do this better. So that answers the first part of your question. How did the transformation start? Coincided with meditation. The second part of your question, which is very important, is what advice do I have for someone who wants transformation, who wants to transform? I have a huge piece of small advice.
Okay.
And the huge piece of small advice is consistency will always beat intensity. Matlab, don't try to be a hero. Why do you want to be a hero? सोशल में डागा सागा 51 साल का है और 72 किलोमीटर भाग आया. हाँ, पर उसकी बैक स्टोरी तुम्हें नहीं मालूम है यार. तुम्हें नहीं मालूम है कि उसने खच्चर की तरह कितनी ट्रेनिंग करी है दिल्ली में जुलाई में 50 किलोमीटर भाग के, कितने सैक्रिफाइसेस किए हैं, नहीं मालूम तुम्हें. Forget about that. तुम 15 मिनट वॉक कर लो यार. आज तुम 0 वॉक पे हो ना, 15 मिनट वॉक करो. शर्माओ मत कि यार किसी को मैंने बोल दिया मैंने 15 मिनट वॉक किया, तो बंदा बोला 15 मिनट वॉक किया, अजीब इंसान हो यार, ये तो मैं आंख बंद करके कर लूंगा. तो करो यार फिर आंख बंद करके. मैंने इतना किया, अगले दिन 16 मिनट कर लो. So the advice is, don't start big when it comes to a transformation. Dream big, have your big goal, start tiny. The smaller you start, the better chance is it of you to clear that goal and motivate for tomorrow. There is a fantastic saying I heard from the Nike global coach, Coach Bennett. He has a super awesome mustache, which is why he's very famous. He's Nike's global running coach. Somebody asked him, what is the point of my first run? What is the point of my first run? And I love this guy's answer. His answer was, the point of your first run is to be excited about run 2. The point of your first run is to be excited about your second run. Wow. लोग पहले रन इतना लंबा कर लेते हैं कि बोलते हैं साला कौन जाएगा सेकंड रन के लिए. ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन खत्म हो गया ना. अब आपने पहला बहुत छोटा चीज किया and you're back again to do a little more. That is the trick of transformation. Keep showing up every day. Do whatever little you can. Use that to do more. Use that to do more. And before you know it, bro, you are sorted. You are stacked. Stack ऐसे ही बनता है. That's my only small piece of huge advice. इतना छोटा start करो.
That is profound. I would like to add to this with my little experience with this. I had struggled with discipline and consistency pretty much all my life. Until last year, at the beginning of last year, I started doing a streak. So I had tried doing many running streaks before. But every time, because I'm an ultra distance runner, 100 miles, 200 kilometers. So I thought like 10 kilometers is not much, right? 10 kilometer streak. So I've tried 10 kilometer streaks. I've tried 5 mile streaks. It turned out I had to humble down. I had to get off my high horse and think 5 kilometers is also a massive distance if you're doing it every day. I would vary intensity, and there's a debate about streaks, whether they're useful or not, and various other things that we can separately talk about. But I'm just talking about the transformation part of it. So when I started doing a 5 kilometer streak, I ended up doing much more than 5. So it just got me out of the door because I'm a runner already, so I can run more. I ended up doing some 4.5, close to 5,000 kilometers in the entire year.
Wow.
Yeah, and I also later added, had I added this in the beginning, I would have failed completely. So I did a 531-day streak, like running every single day, and 5 kilometers every day and a half marathon over the weekend. And I managed to do this successfully for these 500 days only because I'd agreed to like humble down to 5 kilometers. And your 5 kilometers could be a mile every day. Your 5 kilometers could be whatever it is, or maybe lower than what you think it is. So अपनी वो ego को check करके आप जब नीचे आओगे तभी.
So Vipin, thank you for sharing this story about your own streak, and thank you for admitting about the being humble and humbling down.
Right.
It just reminded me of something that I've realized about transformation.
Yeah.
If you ask yourself, who are you transforming for? Sadly, a lot of people, if they are very honest, they'll say, I'm transforming for these people. And that's where we get into trouble. Because why do you want to do 10 kilometers instead of 5? Probably, लोग बोलेंगे, wow.
For sure.
But अगर मैंने केवल 2 किलोमीटर किया, तो ये क्या फुद्दू सा स्ट्रीक है यार 2 किलोमीटर. You are not transforming for them. They are byproducts and side actors in your drama. You are the main drama. You are the main actor. Transform for you. So if you are comfortable doing 2 or 3, do your 2, 3. Karma works that way. Consistency works that way. 10 days into doing 3, one day you'll do 4 and be like, damn, मुझे तो थकान नहीं हुई, क्या हुआ ये? ये कर्मा का जादू था बॉस, क्योंकि ये तुम अपने लिए कर रहे हो. अगेन मेडिटेशन क्या सिखाता है? आंख बंद करके अपने आप को देखो. Why is there quiet in Vipassana? सब लोग हैं पर कोई नहीं है. सब लोग हैं वहां धम्मा हॉल में पर कोई नहीं है, तुम अकेले हो. In transformation we are alone. Yes, we have a coach, we have team, but we are alone. हमें अकेलापन अच्छा नहीं लगता है. We want everyone's company. वो भी बोले wow, Daga Saga, wow. नहीं यार, I am doing it for me. When you realize you're doing it for you and you're comfortable with what you are doing, karma rewards you. So think big, think awesome, start small. Completing a task every day in the beginning becomes much easier when the task is small. Automatically the size increases यार. अपने आप हो जाएगा वो, because you're getting stronger. Right? And you proved it with your own story.
Wonderful, sir. I have 2 more questions for you, then I'll let you go. One is about the transformation itself. The second part of the transformation, as you went on the journey of the transformation, you started getting more active, educating yourself more about all of these things. discipline. How does one build consistency and discipline in this entire thing? Because that can be very challenging, especially for somebody who's not used to this. Your usual is very different, but you're trying to become a somebody else. How has the journey to becoming a disciplined person been for you?
So for me, I think maybe because of my upbringing, because of how I've seen my father behave with work, how I've seen my mom behave with her responsibilities, they've been very consistent with their duties. Always, as parents, my dad at work. Discipline and consistency is something I've been brought up around. So maybe I have that advantage. It was tough growing up, but I'm eating the fruits of the seeds that were sowed during my childhood. I remember mentioning this some time ago, that it was tough then, but I can only say thank you. If people don't have that blessing like I've had of being nurtured in an environment of discipline, then it is more of an uphill task. But I think it links to our previous discussion on starting small. Doing small things every day builds that habit of consistency every day. So that's part one. If you're likely to finish small things every day, you're building in discipline. Being accountable to other people, at least one other person who supports you, is a great idea. I'm lucky I don't need to be reminded of my responsibilities by others, but it's great. It's great that I have people I'm accountable to. I'll give you a very funny story. Just now, the cameras were rolling, and I picked this up and I was going to eat 5 of these. And then I realized, if Suramya watches this, I'm going to be in trouble. So I ate one.
Okay.
I hope Suramya is watching. But why? I'm accountable. Of course I'm accountable to me, but I'm a human being. I owe this to me, but to her as well. I don't need to disrespect her by eating too much of this. It's not in my plan. So here's a great example of someone like the Daga Saga, who's already so disciplined, still finding advantage of being accountable to a third party. So baby steps every day slowly builds in consistency. Being accountable to someone. I think writing stuff down. Do
you journal? Do you write?
I don't journal myself, but my way of journaling in a way is Instagram. It's not my personal, but every day I share. You ask me, why do you share stories? It's part of what I want to read. It's part of what I want other people to know. This is who I am. If I go out and post a story, you don't rise to the level of your expectations. You fall to the level of your training.
Systems.
I want them to know that this is who I am. I'm living it. I'm not just preaching it, I'm practicing it. That's why I post. If I post something on kindness, it's who I am. Sometimes I post something which I want to do that day. I want to be able to do that. I may be fearful of something and I want to be able to. So I say, get beyond fear. 10 people respond to that, then I'll feel like a hypocrite that I've told people to be fearless और मैं यहाँ पर डरपोक की तरह बैठा और मैंने अपने intervals नहीं किए जो भी है. So consistency is a mindset. It happens by being consistent. But being consistent becomes a little easier if what you have to do every day is chota in the beginning, then it builds it. The last part about consistency that I also want to add is I think it's a misnomer. It's a myth that consistency means 100%. I often joke that a lot of people feel I'm a robot. I'm not. I'm actually a human being, as I've proven to you. I go off track. I know it's unbelievable, but I do. But meditation teaches you to get back on track. The technique itself. तो मैं चला गया off track यार. मैंने खा लिया थोड़ा. Okay, शाम को ठीक कर लेंगे. Self-kindness, self-love also is not beating yourself up for that. So being consistent is also accepting that once in a while I'll be inconsistent. I'll get back. I won't wander into the land of inconsistency and never come back. So consistency is not being a robot. It's being in control most of the time.
Amazing. I think Dr. Peter Athiya has this philosophy. He says, I try to not do 2 bad things in a row.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. If you miss a workout, the single most important workout is the next one.
Absolutely. So don't be so hard on yourself, because then you're just punishing yourself, and sometimes the punishment is so severe that you don't get back. It's okay.
Great, sir. So my final question is, the podcast is called Find Your Ultra. What is your ultra in life, and how are you going about finding it?
So I think, Vipin, finding your ultra differs not only person to person, but also where you are in life.
Absolutely.
My ultra 30, 40 years ago would have been very different to what it is now. I think now my ultra is to do the best that I can for me so that other people can do the best for themselves. It's, Buddha put it very, very well. He used to teach selfish, selfless love. He said, selfish is a very positive word if the intent is to take care of you. So selfish doesn't mean I'm showing you the finger. Selfish simply means I'm putting myself first and I'm going to take care of me. Once I take care of me, I'm in shape to selflessly take care of you. So view it as someone who is doing squats, 300 kg killer squats. You need someone to spot that person. That spotter better be strong. If that spotter is weak, there's no point. So I want to be that spotter for people, but I want to be strong. So my ultra is to do the best I can for me, the best I can to be the best Madhur Daga I can be, the best Daga Saga I can be every day, so that other people can find a way to be the best that they can be. That's my ultra. And that involves a lot of discipline for me, being able to use that as a service for the community, whoever there is. That's what it is for me right now. Mind, body, fuel. Mind, of course, there's all the meditation, the work, the dumbass laughs, food, fuel, body, my training. So even with my heart health, I want to do the best that I can for me so that I can have people do the best for them. That's my ultra.
What a pleasure this has been, sir. So it has been a joyride watching you on Instagram and following you on social media. And I'm extremely grateful for you making time to do this and coming all the way and speaking to me. And thank you so much for spreading all the love and positivity.
Thank you, Vipin. Thank you so much for having me. I was very, very happy to be here. Very happy to have shared a lot of stuff that I don't remember sharing about my childhood in a long time. So felt very happy to do that. And thank you for being such a great listener. And I hope your audience also enjoys it as much as we
I'm pretty sure people will find a lot of value in this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.